Hello, Mystery Nox listeners, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm Kim.
And I'm Mary.
And we are super excited to be back with you after our break. We appreciate you sticking with us, and if you're new, welcome. We hope you like it here. Today we are going to be talking about the mysterious deaths of two Dutch students who disappeared on a hiking trail in Panama. Months later, only parts of their bodies were found. What happened to these two young women? Were they murdered, or were their deaths a tragic accident? This is the case of Lisanne Froon and Kris Kremers, better known as the Panama Girls. But no, Mary, let's tell everybody about our special guest for this episode.
Sophie's going to be joining us for this podcast a little bit in theories. Not in theory.
Mm-hmm.
She'll be joining us in theories when we talk about theories.
Yes.
Did that? Okay, that makes sense. Okay. She was one that kind of suggested the story a while ago. And I don't know. I thought she'd be like a great little fit to just chime in because not only have I known her for years, but she lives in Panama as well. And that's where this story takes place. And
no, definitely it's a good idea. It makes sense. And as you said, she requested it a while ago, so we put it on our list. And we're finally to this case. And she's all for coming on as a guest spot and to talk about her theories about the case as well once we get there. Just to let you guys know as well, if there's a case you want us to do, let us know, either by emailing us, or you can go to our Instagram or Facebook and let us know. And maybe you can be a guest on the podcast.
Yeah.
If we pick your story.
I thought that, this little thing would be like a neat little idea to try, just to see if, it'd be just cool to mix it up, I think. Not just hearing our voices, but someone else that may have an interest in it as well.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that'll be later on once we get to the theory section. And speaking of the case, what did you think of this case without giving any spoilers away?
I honestly thought this would be nothing more than like a 15-minute show. And that was another reason I was worried about doing this. Yeah, because I came across several articles and it just kind of, they were short. They were just plain and simple sort of things of what happened, who these girls were, what happened, and that sort. And so I was like, this isn't going to be enough to
make an episode.
Yeah, to make like a 20, 30-minute episode. But we found out, I think we learned in the past couple of days that there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and shout out to Sophie because she actually helped us dig up a lot of stuff too. So thank you, Sophie. I think enough chit chat, right? So let's get on with the case.
Lisanne Froon, 22, and Kris Kremers, 21, were students from Amersfoort, Netherlands. Not only were they good friends and roommates, having moved in together the previous year in 2013, but they also worked at the same cafe. They had spent 6 months saving for their trip to Panama, where they had planned to learn Spanish, volunteering with the local children, and sightseeing. Both had just graduated, Lisanne with a degree in applied sciences and Kris in cultural social education, so the trip served as a graduation gift for themselves. Early March 2014, Lisanne and Kris left for Panama and spent the next couple of weeks traveling around Bocas del Toro and taking in the culture. While there, they also met two Dutchmen where they ended up traveling together and socializing. Then on March 29th, 2 weeks after taking in local culture, they traveled to Phuket, where they were scheduled to start teaching at the local school the next day. However, upon getting there and settling in with their host family, they learned that the local school had booked them for the following week, which meant they had another week free before teaching at the school. Though they were disappointed that they would have to wait a little longer, they decided to take advantage of the situation by hiking a local trail nearby called 𝑑𝒖𝒃𝒍𝒍𝒚, which would take them through the jungles of Chiriquí the next day. The weather on April 1st made for excellent hiking weather, sunny and clear skies. After having brunch with two Dutchmen, Kris and Lisanne took a taxi to the 𝑑𝒖𝒃𝒍𝒍𝒚 trail and got there around 11 a.m. The hike itself is known to be moderate in terms of how difficult the trail is, and would take anywhere from 2 to 3 hours to the summit and another 2 to 3 hours back. The trail was considered to be a, quote, well-traveled area through heavily wooded, rugged terrain along the border of Costa Rica, end quote. It was frequently used, and you weren't without seeing anyone or cows along the path. They wore light clothing, shorts and tank tops, and packed light with just essentials in their backpack, snacks, water bottles, swimsuits, money, passports, camera, and phones. They were also accompanied by their host family's dog, Azul, who came along for the hike. The girls got to the summit in just under 2 hours, estimated around 1 p.m., taking photos along the way. At this point, after taking in the mountain views and jungle landscapes, people normally turn around and head back to 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒍𝒚, with there even being a sign to discourage people not to hike ahead, as it could be dangerous without a guide. They continued on, and this would be the last time anyone had seen them. When the girls didn't return that night, the host family didn't think anything of it. They just thought that maybe they ran into friends or other tourists and decided to spend time with them. It should also be noted that the family dog did return home. Because we're all wondering about little Azul. Okay.
That's good to know.
Yes, little man returned home. It wasn't until April 3rd that the host family had reported the girls missing. This was only after the tour guide said that they had an appointment to meet with him on April 2nd for a private tour around 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒚 and mentioned that the girls didn't show up. Reports also vary on whether it was the 2nd or 3rd of April. I think that should just be out there for people to know.
Yeah, because I was actually just going to chime in and say that with the research that I did, it said it was April 2nd. But as you guys will notice throughout this whole case, lots of varying facts with this case. So it's actually really hard to say for certain when something happened. Because a lot of the stuff, at least that I ran into, and I don't know if it was the same with you, Mary, but a lot of the stuff depends on the word of the local people.
Yeah. No, yeah, it was the
so
same. Because I was seeing like flip-flop things and on it being one day over the next or within minutes. And I'm just like, okay, well, but the good thing, we do check other sources to match it all up, but we just want to put that out
exactly.
there.
And I also wanted to say, I think it's really odd, I guess, that the host family didn't alert anybody that night because, I don't know, they knew that the girls were supposed to be back that same day. And they know that they're on the trail and they know that they're alone and the dog came back without them.
See, so that's the thing.
I just found it really weird.
That's what I found weird. The dog made it back home.
Yeah.
Which, yay for the dog, animal person here. But that just is just major sketch because that makes me believe there's people involved in this. Right.
And so when I was, reading over that in the research, I was just, I don't know, it set off alarm bells. That's all I'll say.
Yeah. Local authorities had helicopters in the air and search parties on the ground looking for Kris and Lisanne. The police had also interviewed anyone that had been on the trail that day. On April 6th, Kris and Lisanne's parents and detectives from Holland arrived in Panama to help assist in the search. But no luck. No items nor the girls were found. There was even a $30,000 reward from Kris and Lisanne's parents for information about the girls. But this wasn't even enough incentive to gain more information. It wasn't until 10 weeks later in June when a woman found a backpack in a rice paddy along the banks of a river near a village in Alto Romero, an estimated 8-hour walk from the summit. But given the location of the village, it would be difficult to hike on foot. The backpack belonged to Lisanne, which contained an empty water bottle, glasses, camera, memory cards, swimsuits, passports, cell phones, and $83. It was suggested that the bag may have been placed there and not found, since it was clean and dry with no water damage. While there were fingerprints and DNA on the bag, none could be identified. Of the items in the bag, their cell phones and memory cards proved to be most insightful. The memory cards had hundreds of photos from the trip, and from that, 133 consecutive photos, apart from one missing photo, was from their hike along the Pianista Trail. While the camera didn't have GPS locations on the images, they were later paired with the locations on the trail to see where and an estimate of when they were taken. Image 508 was the last image taken by the girls, but image 509 is what has people wondering what it was, as it was manually deleted and could not be recovered. Around 90 other images were taken several days later, most of which were taken at night with the flash on. It has been speculated that they were lost and wandering around the jungle at night and used the flash as a sort of way to either see where they were going, to send out a signal, or as a deterrent of someone following them. Whatever the case, speculation conclude at this point that they were in danger. So did you see the photos?
Yeah, I'm looking at them right now. They're very strange.
They're something, yeah.
Yeah, they're... So, as you said, Mary, like 90 of the photos are basically all just photos of land. Like, basically like they were trying to see what was in front of them in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm looking at one right now, and it looks like they're looking up at a ledge or something, and there's plants up there, and then there's these other ones that are just pictures of the forest at night, of the jungle, just like you're just taking a picture in front of you at night. But there's, like you said, there's like hundreds of these. And there's these little dots, which I don't really know what those are.
No, and some people have said that it might be rain, but even that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't look like rain.
No, because nowhere else is wet.
Right.
So, and it wouldn't be like dust, because you would see through those.
Right.
Like
exactly.
orbs or something. But no, yeah, that part's weird. I don't get that. I mean, there's a lot of those images that I just don't understand.
Agree. Yeah, there's a ton of these. So we will actually go ahead and put some of them up on the blog if you wanted to take a look at them.
And I'll give you a link, too, of some of the sites that have it. Because there's quite a bit of weirdness.
There is. And so another photo that people are talking about that's on there is, it looks like it's a picture of one of the girls' heads, like the back of their head. It shows their hair.
Yeah, and that picture, it's many things. Yeah, because one had said that it's maybe, she has like a cut on her face and there's blood, and I don't know about you, but I don't see blood.
I don't either. I'm actually looking at it right now, and all I see is just hair.
Yeah. And
that's all I see.
It seems like it would be taken from behind, but there's other posts that I've came across that said, no, if you look close, you'll see like a mouth or teeth. You'll see teeth and like an eye, maybe two eyes. But I don't see that. I mean, I don't know. I'm looking at it. I don't see it. Like, I would literally have to like point at that area, but then I don't know if that's the point of you just, that thought of just manifesting then, like, oh yeah, that's where it is because I said it was, rather than you just coming to that conclusion. But no, it's weird regardless of whatever it is, or could be.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, I'm just not sure. And a lot of people speculate that the person who took the photo of Lisanne's hair, because they're assuming it's Lisanne's hair, was Kris. And I don't know why she would take a picture of her friend's hair. Like, I don't know.
I mean, if they were doing the whole flash thing, I could see that as being her. I mean, they're too close, and she just set off the flash and didn't realize it. But it's just weird.
It is. But there's research from 𝑰mperfectplan.com, and they're kind of like going into details about this photo, and they basically tried to recreate taking the photo of the hair. And they basically said, like, it's really difficult to take a picture of the back of your head with the same camera and stuff that they had. And so basically that puts it that either Kris took the photo or somebody else was there with them and took the photo.
Yeah.
Or took all the photos. Who knows?
But see, that's what I'm kind of leaning towards. I mean, there's many theories on the photos itself, as they took it, someone else took it.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to like lead a false trail maybe of the girls. And
right.
But I don't know.
Yeah, it's just there's so many possibilities. But we will go ahead and have the photos on the blog for you guys if you guys wanted to look at them, and you let us know your thoughts on them.
When police looked at their phone records, they discovered that both Lisanne and Kris had service for almost 10 days after their disappearance. It was recorded that a total of 77 separate attempts were dialed to the local authorities, as well as to the emergency number in the Netherlands, but due to reception, the calls didn't go through, except for one on April 3rd before it broke up after 2 seconds. It was also discovered on April 6th that the phones had several unsuccessful attempts to unlock them with an incorrect PIN. By April 11th, both Kris and Lisanne's phones were dead. 2 months after the initial discovery of the backpack, clothes and bones were found. Quote, only 2 bones, a partial pelvis bone and a rib bone, were ever linked to Kris Kremers. A total of 33 widely scattered human bones were also recovered. A shoe was also found with Lisanne's foot inside, end quote. Interestingly enough, the skin on Lisanne's foot was still intact and in the early stages of decomposition. It should also be mentioned that Kris's partial pelvis bone was white, leading people to believe that they were bleached. Because of this discovery, it's believed that the girls had died in different places at different times. When we return, we'll dive into the theories surrounding this case. Stay with us.
Now back to the case. All right, welcome back, everybody. We are going to go ahead and start talking about the theories of this case, but I wanted to jump in and introduce you guys to Sophie. She's going to be joining us for the theories. Sophie, did you want to say hi?
Hello, children.
We kind of talked about you before we started the episode, but just tell the listeners a little bit, about why you suggested this case.
The reason why I suggested this case, it's not just because I'm from Panama, but when this happened and I saw it on the news, I thought it was really strange that they would just say that it was either animals that ate them or what they talked about, like how they slipped on the bridge. It doesn't make any sense. Just seems like they're covering up something a lot darker, a lot more sinister. And I don't think it's fair that we don't really know what happened to them.
Yeah, agree.
And it's something that could happen to anyone, especially women. Women are basically prey for predators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you been near this trail or have you been near Boquete or anything?
I've never been to La Pianista Trail, but I have been to Boquete, and it's like one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to. It's really nice.
And was it very remote?
It is remote because it's far out. It's a small town. There are not a whole lot of people there, but the people seem friendly at least. And it's a very touristy area, like everybody goes there.
I definitely noticed that when doing the research, so. Okay, well thank you, Sophie. We're going to go ahead and get started on the theories.
Thank you.
There are so many theories surrounding this case that it was tough to sort through them all. One of the biggest theories out there is, of course, that the girls met with foul play, which resulted in their deaths. This is definitely a valid theory, especially considering all the people the girls ran into while in Panama, all of them strangers and possibly some with bad intentions. I'm going to go through a list of possible suspects, and it can get a little confusing at times, so please stay with me. It's a twisty trail of people. I'm going to start off with the tour guide, Feliciano Gonzalez, also known as F. It's reported that Feliciano was put in touch with the girls from the local school they were supposed to be teaching at. He met the girls at the school and booked their tours for the week, and then he invited them to stay at his ranch, which the girls declined.
Creepy much?
Creepy, yeah.
Yeah.
Who does that?
Much. And he did it several times too. It wasn't just once that he asked them.
Yeah, that's really creepy. Feliciano is also the one who supposedly reported the girls missing. He stated he got worried about them because they failed to show up for their guided tour on April 2nd. So he made his way to their host home, along with either a woman from the school, which he had stopped by first to find the girls, or a woman who worked for Feliciano. Again, there's differing accounts on who went with him, which is a huge problem in this case. I feel like there's very little factual evidence. A lot of it is resting on the word of the locals.
I heard something about, like, the woman that worked for him or with him. She actually left to Germany.
Okay.
Like, right away, like, something was up.
Oh, she was in on it.
She must have known something. And I understand that he stood outside, like, for 90 minutes.
What?
Waiting for them. Yeah. Like, somebody said that, because he probably thinks that they're just women getting ready, but I find that very strange.
When they got there, he talked to Miriam and they apparently looked around but found no sign of the girls. Miriam gave him a spare key to the girls' room and he unlocked the door and went inside. Now, here's where accounts differ again. Some sources say he went in with the lady from the school and or his employee, and other sources say he went in with Miriam. Either way, he was in there for 30 minutes, searching through the girls' room. No one notified the police the girls were missing until 5 hours later.
Really sinister.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, I'm thinking, why was he searching the room? And why did he and the host mom, Miriam, wait so long to report them missing? It makes no sense.
No, I feel like everything was planned out from the beginning.
Seems that way. It seems like very sketch.
Right?
Yeah.
I just feel like, if they are innocent, I just feel like, why would you do any of this stuff if you were innocent? It doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't.
Another odd thing about Feliciano, he's the one who found the girls' remains. He stated he saw vultures circling the area. It should be noted that he owns a farm in Alto Romero, which is around 12 miles from Boquete as the crow flies.
Ah.
Why as the crow flies?
Because if you go straight on, just like a straight line as the crow flies, it's 12 miles.
Mm-hmm.
But to get to that farm, the roads and everything, it takes way longer.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
So,
okay.
you literally have to walk through the jungle.
And then they don't even suggest you do that.
Yeah, of wilderness to get there if you don't take the roads. So, Mary, correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't the girls' remains found near Alto Romero?
I believe so, but they also first found the backpack in a rice paddy not far from that.
Okay, so the backpack and the remains were found near his farm in Alto Romero.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Very interesting indeed.
And it gets even more interesting. Down the rabbit hole, as I always say. The next possible suspect is Henry Eliezer Gonzalez. Coincidentally, or not, he is the first son of Feliciano Gonzalez, the tour guide that we just talked about. Henry was apparently overheard while he was drunk, saying something about he had an unusual run-in with the girls on the day of their hike. I couldn't find much more information about what the run-in was, but it's definitely suspicious. Jorge Rivera Miranda was a friend of Henry Eliezer Gonzalez. Quote, on April 4th, 2015, he was found drowned in very shallow water. His body was found in the Grande stream of the Dos Rios community in the Dolega district in Chiriquí, end quote. Leonardo Arturo Gonzalez was the taxi driver that dropped the girls off at the trail on the 1st of April. Sources say sometime between 10:30 and 11 a.m. Leonardo stated he saw two locals, Henry Gonzalez and either
Jose Manuel Murgas or Jorge Rivera Miranda.
Thank you, Sophie. Different sources say different things, but we for sure know that one of the men was Henry, in the Pianista area on the day he dropped the girls off. Leonardo was found dead 8 months after the girls' remains were found. He had apparently drowned in the river.
Dude.
Suspicious.
Yeah.
Very fishy.
Yeah, so far we have two people that are either connected with the girls or are friends of somebody that is connected with the girls that have died of drowning.
They're all part of it.
Mm-hmm. And we're not done yet.
I don't think that Leonardo knew what was gonna happen.
No, I don't think Leonardo knew anything. I just think that he maybe was disposed of because he saw Henry and either Josue or Jorge.
Or he was adamant in telling the police.
Could be, yeah.
Or something, yeah.
He was a witness. But that's just my thoughts
Or
about it.
he didn't really witness anything, but they thought he had, so poof, gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everything, it's just so suspicious. And, I mean, there's more as you'll see, but it's weird. So the next possible suspect is named Osman Valenzuela. According to sources from a documentary video about this case, a man named Osman Valenzuela disappeared 3 days after the girls went missing. He was later found dead by drowning, again, in the Chiriquecito River. The more interesting part, though, is it was later found that he had possibly met the girls. There is a picture of him swimming with 2 foreign women with blonde hair and red hair, which was found on his phone. It is thought to be Kris and Lisanne, but it's really hard to tell. We'll go ahead and put the picture up on the blog so you guys can look at it, but I looked at it for a while and it's just, the quality of the picture is not good, but you can see it's him with 2 foreign women and it does look like the girls, so.
It does look like them.
Yeah, it really does look like them, but nobody can say for 100% certainty, that it was them.
I hope that one day they can.
There are rumors about Osmond stating his death was suspicious, as no water was actually found in his lungs, even though he died of drowning.
So he was killed before.
Possibly.
And then he was thrown in the water.
According to some sources, it was also discovered that he helped with the searches for the girls before his disappearance. Lorenzo Gonzalez was a local tour guide, and according to sources, he told some French tourists on April 2nd not to walk on the Pianista Trail because he had heard screams coming from the mountain the night before. That was interesting because obviously he's hearing screams coming from the trail the night before.
It made me wonder if he knew what the screams were from.
Mm-hmm.
Or if he was just worried and that's why because maybe he knew and that's why he didn't want them to go up there and see what was happening.
It is weird. It's all like, the thing that frustrates me with this case is there's all these witness, statements and people seeing things or hearing things, but really it's like the police didn't probe enough. Like they didn't interview them enough. They didn't question them. They didn't, it's just...
They didn't care.
They didn't
enough.
care. Yeah. It seems like that. Like they didn't care. They didn't... I don't know. But then I also read that that's just kind of how it is in countries like Panama.
The government is corrupt.
And another possible suspect are the Dutch guys that we talked about earlier in the case. The thing with them, I couldn't find much on these guys, but I wanted to mention them because the girls did have interactions with them before they went missing. A few days before their disappearance, Lisanne and Kris hung out with the 2 guys that were also on vacation from the Netherlands. As far as I know, these men were never questioned about the girls by the Panamanian authorities. However, according to an article from nltimes.nl, quote, 2 young Dutchmen who have just returned from Panama will be questioned on Tuesday by police in the Netherlands in relation to the 2 Dutch girls who are still missing. The men are not suspects, a spokesperson emphasized. The 2 men were on holiday in Panama and were in contact with the 2 girls who have been missing for 2 weeks now. A day before the girls were last seen, they spoke with them, and the police want to know what the discussion was about and if any details could lead to clues in the case. The men returned from Panama last week. The police will not give any information about the identity of the Dutchmen. End quote.
Are they the same guys that they met in Bocas del Toro?
Yeah, they were hanging out with these guys like a few weeks before they went hiking.
And then on the day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they also went to Boquete with them.
Oh, I see what you mean.
I mean, I guess that's what it says. It says they talked to them the day of.
Yeah.
So maybe they were other Dutchmen.
Because
maybe
remember
they're not the same guy.
the 4 of them hung out, and then the next day they were leaving to go to the school.
Yeah. Right. But did it ever say if the Dutch guys left too, or it didn't say? It didn't go into much detail.
No.
Yeah, so we don't know.
We just know of 2 incidences of before they left to go to the school, and then before the hiking trail. They had brunch.
Mm-hmm.
But I really don't think that it was them.
Because they're all foreigners, yeah.
They look like nice guys in the pictures. Yeah, and there's a lot of foreigners up in Boquete. Even if they weren't different, I don't think that they would do that to them.
I honestly think it was the same people. I mean, it could have been different, but...
But there's really not a lot on them, is the thing, and we don't know their identities, so... I couldn't, there's really just not a lot. But I wanted to include it because the girls did have a lot of contact with them. So as you can see, there are quite a few people that could have had something to do with the girls' death if it was foul play. I do find it very suspicious how a lot of it comes back to Feliciano and his son, Henry. Did you notice how a few people connected with them ended up dying of suspicious circumstances? It makes me wonder if they knew something they shouldn't. Sophie and Mary, as you can see, there are a lot of suspects. I wanted to discuss here before I go on to the next theory about if it was foul play, about possible ways that the girls could have, I guess, met their demise through foul play. So I think, one possible thing is that if they did meet foul play on the trail, one of these people that I mentioned, or two of these people, or I don't even know, could have, either been stalking them, kind of. Because that kind of goes along with the photos as well, is that in the beginning of their hike, in the beginning of the photos, they look, happy, and they're taking photos with each other, and they're carefree. And then as the photos progress on, it ends up, they don't take any more photos with each other. There's only photos of, I believe, Lisanne. So Kris isn't in any more of the photos. And one of the theories is that somebody caught up with them, somebody that wanted to hurt them, and was kind of, leading them off somewhere to hurt them. And so that's why, if you look at some of the photos of Lisanne in some of the older photos, she looks different. Like, she doesn't look happy. She looks kind of scared.
See, I get.
She looks worried. That,
but also it was like a 2 to 3 hour hike, and making it there is one thing, but heading back, you kind of lose some steam, because I get that way. It's like, oh, it's all fun and games. Yeah. And on my way back, it's like, God, I'm tired. I'm hungry. I just want to go home. So it's like I could see it, being someone there, and also just being tired and just want to go home.
Also, saw a witness that the owner of some little store stated that when they were going up, he saw them, and one of them looked sick.
Yes, you're right. I did read that. Sophie, do you have any thoughts on, do you think somebody followed them? Do you think if it was foul play, what do you think could have happened?
I definitely do think that either it was planned from the beginning, or they might have been up there, since some of them lived by Alto Romero. They saw them and they're like, hey, let's do something to these girls. They're the kind of girls that we like. We like those European girls.
Okay, so let's talk about another theory that's out there. Accidental death due to an injury or getting lost. There are some people stating that the most likely thing to happen to the girls is the most simple. They got lost and they perished due to the elements. Or they got injured and couldn't make it back to town, got lost and perished. I get it. Tourists get lost all the time, especially in unfamiliar territory. It's definitely possible, right? But it's a lot less likely once you look at all the evidence that negates this theory. Let's start with talking about the actual trail. If you've never been to Panama or even in the region of 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒂𝒍𝒍𝒚, you might think there are many ways to get lost on a trail through the jungle. However, this just isn't true in regards to the trail the girls took. Kris and Lisanne hiked the Pianista Trail, near the Baru volcano, without a guide. According to an article from 𝑚perfectplan.com, quote, Baru volcano is a very large volcano that's surrounded by rainforests and unnamed towns and indigenous areas due to their small size. Baru volcano is approximately 10 kilometers, which is 6 miles, from the Costa Rican border. Although the details haven't been completely verified, it's generally thought that the goal of the two girls was to hike on Pianista Trail, a popular trail that leads to El Mirador, or the Overlook, in the area to see 360-degree views of the mountainous rainforest. End quote. According to locals, the Pianista Trail is what's known as a linear trail, meaning there's only one path the whole way. To get back to the entrance, you have to turn around. The locals and other tourists who have walked the trail say the same thing. There are no sharp cliff drops on the trail. There are no other pathways to turn off of and get lost in the jungle. The trail is clearly visible, and would have been the day Lisanne and Kris went, as it was a beautiful sunny day. The girls' parents even went to Panama and hiked the trail themselves, stopping at the spots where the girls took the pictures, just to see if it was possible to get lost on the trail. They concluded, no, there's no way. Even if the girls were injured, they would have stayed on the trail and turned back. Miriam, the host mom, even stated she didn't think the girls got lost, quote, because they had no plans to take long walks, end quote. This is evidenced by how little the girls took with them on the trail. Why? Because they were only planning to be out there a few hours, and then come home. Most of their belongings were still in their room.
It makes me wonder if Miriam was bad or not. Like,
my thought is I don't think she was bad. I just think that she was naive.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, like I just feel like she didn't take it seriously enough, which is for sure, when they didn't come back
She
home.
might have been scared, too.
There were a few witnesses who believed they saw the girls return from the trail and get into a car. Pedro, one of the local witnesses, stated just that. One of the other witnesses was an American that lived near the trail, and stated they spoke to the girls when they asked them about the trail. According to the American, the girls went on the trail and then came back a short time later, stating they were tired and wanted to go home. So, they didn't vanish on the trail then? That was my thought.
And they called him Pedro, but his actual name was Peter.
Yeah, Pedro Peter. So we have Pedro or Peter stating that he saw the girls return from the trail and get in a car. Then we have the American witness that lived near the trail who spoke to the girls and also said that they saw them come out of the trail and say they wanted to go home and walk down towards where the car is. So that just opens up a whole can of worms, because now it's like the Panamanian government, which I'll talk about in a minute, they're saying that the girls had an accident on the trail and died that way. But yet we have witness statements saying no, like we saw the girls come back off the trail.
They just wanted to close the case as quickly as possible.
And like I get that sometimes witness statements aren't 100% correct. Like sometimes they can misidentify somebody, but there were more than one or two people.
It just hit me.
This.
Remember how they had the dog with them? Why wasn't the dog in any of the pictures?
That's a good question. I don't know.
And well, I know that dogs, like in the interior and stuff, they always follow you regardless if they know you or not.
Yeah. See, I believe they went and came back.
Okay, so you do believe the witnesses.
Like, yeah, they came back. They had to have. Because, you know, the dog came back home as well. But that just strikes me as odd that the dog wasn't in any of the pictures.
That's true. And you know what? I never thought about that before, but I will say this. In the research I was doing, somebody did bring up the dog. And they said that in countries like Panama, a lot of people just let their dogs out for like the whole day, and they really don't keep track of them, and they just let them run around. And then at night the dogs come back. So they were saying it's possible that Miriam got it mixed up and that the girls didn't even take the dog, that the dog just kind of wandered off.
Followed.
Just
And
wandered
then,
and then okay.
Yep, and then just came back on its own like it regularly does. And that would make sense, especially since the dog is not in any of the pictures.
Ah, see? So then that right there.
Maybe it followed them up to a certain point and then it came back.
This is why I have trust issues.
Yeah. Now another thing is that the dog could have went with them, but then it got scared. Now we do have to talk about the big elephant in the room, the Panamanian government. See, according to them, this case is closed and solved. They say the girls had an accident and fell off the monkey bridge, their bodies breaking up in the river. But the thing is, they probably never even made it to the bridge. Especially if the witness statements are true, they wouldn't have had time. And even if you take the witness statements out of the equation, this conclusion still doesn't make sense. If the girls fell into the river and died, how did their backpack end up miles away from where they started their trip, and not even on the trail, but through dense jungle vegetation? Kris from 𝒓𝒊𝒂𝒍𝒍𝒚 states, quote, "Notice that the backpack was found at a considerable distance from where the girls started their trip. If one of them was injured, there's no way they would have made that trip together. Additionally, why would they have gone so far off the path? People speculate that they got lost. They didn't think to look at the direction the water was flowing. Their destination was only 1 kilometer hike from their home. Why would they walk for so much time in a random direction? I believe that they were too intelligent for that to happen. These girls were experienced travelers." End quote. It's thought that there was a cover-up going on from the Panamanian government so as not to upset and turn off future tourists. Why would they have a cover-up? Panama has a big tourism industry to defend. In 2006, international tourist arrivals in Panama reached 2.4 million, a number equivalent to 70% of the country's population. The expenditures by foreign tourists during this period totaled around $960 million, equivalent to 6% of Panama's 2006 GDP. This is according to World Bank statistics. Only one reason makes sense. The girls didn't have an accident. They were murdered. Other possible theories? Cannibals and animals make the list.
One thing I don't understand is why, I mean, if I were their parents, I would have sued the Panamanian government.
Yeah.
Or is it too hard?
I mean, I don't know.
I think you could. I mean, it would be a fight, yeah. But, because I think it's done before.
Yeah, they did get a lawyer. Okay, so this is from imperfectplan.com, and it says, when more evidence couldn't be found for the case, Attorney General of Panama, 𝒖𝒏𝒆, claimed that the girls had died from a hiking accident shortly after the case was closed. But not all the evidence was investigated. Leads and suspects were never interviewed. Investigators knew that the official story was impossible. The official version of the story makes no sense, said Enrique Arocha, the attorney who represented the Kremers family. Arocha's communication was also unusual at the meeting. He implied in his voice and body language that he was being threatened, but never identified by whom. He was accompanied by a bodyguard. It's almost impossible for bones to be in this condition, said Arocha, and he pointed out that the lead forensic examiner had publicly speculated that lime might have been used to hasten decomposition, which we do talk about as well. But yeah, so at least the Kramer family did hire an attorney, but it seems like from that little paragraph, even the attorney was kind of being threatened.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine, like, the Panamanian government don't play.
Yeah.
It's too bad, though.
There are a lot of things in this case that don't make sense, but I'm going to list a few of the main ones here. First of all the girls' remains were never found. If they had died accidentally, it would stand to reason that most of the body parts would be in the same general area. So why was so little of their remains found? Not even their skulls have been found. I found that weird. Like, not even their skulls have been found.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, and especially if they died accidentally, as the government says, then their body parts should be there.
I just have a feeling that they're eventually going to turn up one day. Or maybe not, because they covered it so well.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, if there's any updates to this case, we will update everybody. But as of now, it's still unknown. One of the other things that didn't make much sense was there weren't any bite or scratch marks on the remains found, but there was lime on one of the girls' remains.
Oh, yeah.
Lime?
Yeah, which can be
To
used...
bleach the bone.
To decompose the bones.
What?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Another theory is that the girls were attacked by animals, right? That they got injured and they were attacked by animals. But there's no bites or scratch marks on the remains. So for me, that rules that out.
I don't believe it was animals.
No, I don't either.
I mean, a lot of people say that out there are big cougars and stuff, but seriously? I don't think so.
Wait. Explain the lime thing again.
Okay, so some of the remains were found to have lime on them, which is why they looked bleached. So in my head, I'm not thinking lime like a fruit. I'm thinking lime like the chemical.
Yeah. Because of the whole, like, lime away stuff for, like, showers and shit, yeah.
Yeah. So that, apparently, when you do that to bones, it helps speed up the decomposition to get rid of the bone.
Okay.
For sure.
Now I understand.
But the weird thing is that it wasn't on one of the girls' bones. Like, it was only on one of the girls' bones. I forget which one it was, either Lisanne or Kris.
I want to say Kris? Yeah, it was Kris.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they kind of gauged that they died at different times, right? Just because of the decomp?
That's what it's looking like. So another thing, Lisanne's foot was actually found in her boot. And according to the coroner's office, the flesh was still fresh when they found it.
Really strange.
Yeah. It wasn't as decomposed as it should have been for sitting out there for months, according to the Panamanian government, if they had an accident. And the coroner even stated that it must have been in a cool place.
Freezer.
Something.
Wow.
Sorry, but forensics doesn't lie.
Yeah, the evidence does not lie.
And then we kind of touched on this point already, but the location of the backpack. So first of all, the backpack appeared mysteriously out of nowhere, 8 to 10 miles from where the girls were found. That area had been searched when the girls initially went missing, and nothing had been found. And then all of a sudden, 10 weeks later, the backpack is found in perfect condition, and the contents inside are neatly folded and in perfect condition. That makes no sense, especially if the girls had fallen in the river, as the government said. Well, the thing is, the backpack wasn't wet.
Mm-hmm.
The backpack wasn't moldy. So
It was placed, yeah. Someone had it.
It was placed. It was dry. Like, it was never in the river. So again, their theory just does not make sense.
Yeah. And then the one lady that found it in the rice paddy, she's like, it wasn't there the other day. It just appeared today.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then it was on that one guy's land, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the backpack is a big thing. You know, it's weird. It's like it was mysteriously placed.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't there when all the searches were going on. So where was it?
It was staged.
I think so, too.
And they knew it.
Yeah.
And I don't want the listeners to think that Panama is a dangerous place to go to, because it really isn't. I mean, just don't talk to strangers and...
Just be street smart about it, really.
Yeah, and of course, you're not going to go into the shady areas of Panama. You should always learn about the dangerous parts. But, like, I've been to Boquete so many times and nothing has ever happened.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's good to keep an open mind when you go, you know, to new places, but also to be smart about it.
Yeah. And that's what they always tell you. Be aware and, like, learn a little bit of the country before you go.
Oh, but I forgot to bring this up when we were talking about the backpack. The girls' bras were inside the backpack. I always found that to be weird.
Yeah. But then it also looks like swimsuits. Like the tops.
But it was bras.
I know.
Everything says it was bras.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you take your bra if you don't know? Maybe they were told by the guys that they were going to go to the river. And they had to take something to change into.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just weird.
Yeah, because some say that they had swimsuits with them. And that's what I took from it. But I also, seen his stuff about the bras, so yeah.
Yeah, so they possibly changed into swimsuits before they died?
Were there underwear in there?
No, just tops, yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's weird right there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, some people use bras as swimsuits.
Mm-hmm.
True, but they weren't wet.
Yeah, I know, but that's why those things were probably planted there.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know.
One of the last things I wanted to talk about is bone fragments from additional people were actually discovered in the same area.
What?
Yeah. Bone fragments from other people were discovered in the same area that they found their bones in. And, of course, it was never investigated because the government had already closed the case.
Of course.
So convenient.
Yeah. Exactly.
They should look into more tourists disappearing.
There have been quite a few in that area.
Yeah.
That I
And
came
women.
across. Yeah, mostly women.
Of course.
Yeah, but again, like Sophie said, like, we don't want people to think Panama's like this horrible place to go to, you know?
No. Because I think crime, is just like any other place. It's just some places are more highlighted
Than others.
It's like they say about Albuquerque.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, it depends where you go. It's not all of Albuquerque.
Mm-hmm.
The sad part is that, I mean, they were gonna go with a guide, and that guide is creepy.
Yes, that's true. Feliciano.
Mm-hmm.
And just so everybody knows that listens to this, he is still giving tours. And just to put this out there, we can't say that he did anything because
We don't
technically
know.
we don't know for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not saying he's guilty. We're just saying his involvement in the case was suspicious.
I didn't find the thing about the pharmacy, but supposedly the girls had been in the pharmacy.
Oh, I did see
they
that.
they were recorded on the videotape, but one of the ones from the N de Cinco was best friends with, I can't remember, Thing is that, like, their best friend's mother owned the pharmacy, so they were able to delete the videotapes.
Gotcha. The CCTV footage.
Yeah.
Yep.
I heard about that too, that they were there, but they couldn't find the video.
And again, it's, you know, when you go back to the suspects and the drownings, it's like anybody that was involved with the girls or knew somebody that was involved with the girls, like, perished in some weirdo accident.
Like, how convenient, you know?
Yeah. I mean, my thoughts, wrapping it up, is I definitely don't think it was an accident. Definitely think the girls were involved in foul play. And, I mean, I don't know, I can't say for certain who I think did something to them, but I do think that they were on the trail, and I think that they came back from the trail, and they got into that car that the witnesses saw, and something happened to them. Obviously, something not good.
Yeah,
I
my thoughts
believe
exactly.
that too, yeah. Because, like, first going into this, and we talked about it before, it's like, it seemed like an open and shut case. They went hiking, something happened along the trail, the jungle got them, you know? Like an episode of Lost, gone. And then, but the more you look into it, it's like, no, that's more people than actual nature taking over, because just the way they were found and, like, missing items being found, it's just, yeah, it's too much human elements to it.
And the strange photos, the back of her head.
Yeah.
The flash. I mean, I understand using the flash to, like, get help or be able to see, but damn, that would be hard. You imagine using your flash?
Yeah, I think, like, someone, in a way, I kind of think someone had the camera and was just taking, like, extra photos just to kind of
make it look like something else.
Like they were out there when they probably weren't. And the whole cell phone issue thing, too. Trying to get into a locked phone, that says something there, too.
I was just going to say, like, I feel like they did come back. And then they got into the car. They probably raped them, killed them. And then either went out there or went wherever to just take pictures with the flash and make it look like something else. Like, these guys knew what they were doing. And I don't think it's the first time they've done it or the last time.
No, because all the missing people's before.
Exactly.
And if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense, because in the later photos, the weird photos at night, there's never a photo of the girls. Like, there's a photo of the back of someone's head with red hair that people think is Lisanne, but there's never any photos of their faces.
There was that one talk of, in a video I've seen, and it'll be linked in the sources, but the guy was saying how their hair looked really clean, and if they were out in the jungle for as many days as they were, it wouldn't look that way. So yeah, this is definitely
such a strange case, and yeah, there's just so many theories involved with it, so many possibilities, and unfortunately, the Panamanian government just want it shut and done.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. I feel bad for those girls and their families.
Yeah, because they had just graduated. They wanted to do one last thing before they had to go back and get a real job. It sucks.
Sucks really bad.
It really does.
Know what that means? Trust no one, just like in the X-Files. They didn't get that wrong.
I'm not sure if we will ever find out what truly happened to Lisanne and Kris. The investigation was closed way too early, and the evidence that was found wasn't handled as it should have been. What I do know is that 2 young women, full of life and possibility, are dead, and there's no answer as to why. I hope someday their parents will find peace, though I know if it were me, I wouldn't rest until I had answers for my children. Well, that's it for our case today, everybody. I want to give a big thank you to Sophie for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah. It's interesting to finally have, like, a guest. I know we always talked about possibly, but it finally happened, so that's
true
cool.
Crime for life.
And I'm sure you will be back again for another case.
I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, Mystery Nox listeners, that's it for our case today. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, we love to hear your ideas and or theories on this case, so let us know on our Instagram and Facebook at Mystery Nox Podcast, on Twitter at Mystery Nox Pod, or send us a voice message on anchor.fm/Mystery Nox Podcast. A list of our sources can be found on our blog at mysterynoxpodcast.wordpress.com. Your support is always appreciated, so if you enjoyed what you've heard, please let us know by giving us a rating on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll see you on our next episode, and remember, stay weird, stay curious.
God, what was that?
Oh shit. I saved the coffee.
Did you drop that cup?
No, I dropped the mic.
Oh.
Hold on. Hello?
Still works.